Okay. 5. As soon, therefore, as they had withdrawn before noon and reposed themselves a little, Cotta said that he particularly observed that Crassus employed all the time about the middle of the day in the most earnest and profound meditation, and that he himself, who was well acquainted with the countenance which he assumed whenever he was going to speak in public, and the nature of his looks when he was fixed in contemplation, and had often remarked them in causes of the greatest importance, came on purpose, while the rest were asleep, in the room in which Crassus had lain down on a couch prepared for him, and that as soon as he perceived him to be settled in a thoughtful posture, he immediately retired, and that almost 2 hours passed in that perfect stillness. Afterward, when they all, as the day was now verging to the afternoon, waited upon Crassus, Caesar said, "Well, Crassus, shall we go and take our seats, though we only come to put you in mind of your promise and not to demand the performance of it?" Crassus then replied, "Do you imagine that I have the assurance to think that I can continue longer indebted to such friends as you, especially in an obligation of this nature?" "What place then will suit you?" said Caesar. "A seat in the middle of the wood, for that is the most shady and cool." "Well, very well," replied Crassus, "for there is in that spot a seat not at all unsuited for this discourse of ours." This arrangement being agreeable to the rest of the company, they went into the wood and sat down there with the most earnest desire to listen. Crassus then said, "Not only the influence of your authority and friendship, but also the ready compliance of Antonius, have taken from me all liberty of refusal, though I had an excellent pretext for refusing. In the partition, however, of this dissertation between us, Antonius, when he assumed to himself the part of speaking upon those matters which form the subject of the orator's speech, and left to me to explain how they should be embellished, divided things which are in their nature incapable of separation. For as every speech consists of the matter and the language can have no place if you take away the matter, nor the matter receive any illustration if you take away the language. Indeed, the great men of antiquity, embracing something of superior magnificence in their ideas, appear to me to have seen farther into the nature of things than the visual faculties of our minds can penetrate, as they said that all things, these things above and below, formed one system and were linked together in strict union by one and the same power and one principle of universal harmony in nature, for there is no order of things which can either of itself be forcibly separated from the rest, preserve a permanent existence, or without which the rest can maintain their power and eternal duration. 6. But if this reasoning appear to be too comprehensive to be embraced by human sense and understanding, yet that saying of Plato is true, and certainly not unknown to you, Catullus, that all the learning of these liberal and polite departments of knowledge is linked together in one bond of union, for when the power of that reason by which the causes and events of things are known is once thoroughly discerned, a certain wonderful agreement and harmony, as it were, in all the sciences is discovered. But if this also appear to be too sublime a thought for us to contemplate who are prostrate on the earth, it, however, certainly is our duty to know and remember that which we have embraced, which we profess, which we have taken upon ourselves. Since eloquence, as I observed yesterday, and Antonius signified in some passages of his discourse this morning, is one and the same into whatever tracts of regions of debate it may be carried, for whatever it discourses concerning the nature of the heavens or of the earth, whether of divine or human power, whether it speaks from a lower or an equal or a superior place, whether to impel an audience or to instruct or to deter or to incite or to dissuade or to inflame or to soothe, whether to a small or to a large assembly, whether to strangers, to friends, or alone. Its language is derived through different channels, not from different sources, and wherever it directs its course, it is attended with the same equipment and decoration. But since we are overwhelmed by opinions, not only those of the vulgar, but of those Also, men imperfectly instructed who treat of those things more easily when divided and torn asunder, which they have not capacity to comprehend in a general view, and who sever the language from the thoughts like the body from the soul, neither of which separations can be made without destruction. I will not undertake in this discourse more than that which is imposed upon me. I will only signify briefly that neither can embellishments of language be found without arrangement and expression of thoughts, nor can thoughts be made to shine without the light of language. But before I proceed to touch upon these particulars by which I think language is beautified and illumined, I will state briefly what I think concerning eloquence in general.